wacky world of MultimediaJay.
Sick again. Well, for those of you wondering why I switched over to a random style skit, that is why. I was starting to develop the cough a couple of days ago. Then I was at 102 degrees and Tylenoling my way through a workday, doing the very kind of working sick that folks apparently are supposed to have a problem with, but then keep demanding that you get stuff done even when you're under the weather. But I wound up taking the sick day today because the fever started to break last night. And by starting to break, I mean it went from 102 degrees down to 100 even. But unfortunately, because things are starting to break up, today was the day when I felt like my head was in a C-clamp for most of the day, and my head was spinning every time I stood up and whatnot. Some of that has subsided now that I've been up for a while, but I expect to be 100% on Monday. Matter of fact, on Sunday, I expect to be over this enough to go say hello to that church that I'm meaning to get, to touch base with since moving to this place. Fixed my GPS now, so time to start planning the trip. Well, for those of you who are like, oh, come on, man, keep resting. Don't try to do videos when you're sick. Well, I also happen to have a new egg shipment come through, and nerds before birds doesn't make any sense here. Well, let's just say nerds will be nerds. Let's go check out the new egg stuff that arrived today, just in time for the weekend. Keeping the cough drops in the fridge during the warmer months of the year has paid off. So, should I even try to talk normal? I mean, I'm not going to sound normal no matter what I do, so maybe I should go around talking like this instead. Doesn't really matter what I do. Yeah. Anywho, let's see what we got here. So first off, I'm going to stay one ahead on everything I need to swap the heatsink compound on a CPU. When I run out of this or the Arctic Silver, that's my time to order new Arctic Silver. I also have the power supply that I wanted for Tuxedo. New power supply to go along with the new motherboard, so we can have new with new and old with old. So if the other power supply blows up, it'll take out the Core 2 Duo system and not the system I just finished refurbishing. And then we have this thing. A speaker. The stupid little PC speaker. Yes, they sell these things individually for a couple of bucks, which is probably marked up. It's probably better to buy these in lots of 10, but I don't need more than one of these. Monolith's case, despite being a Define R5, did not come with a speaker. So if that thing ever screws up in post codes, I can't hear the code. So we install this, and it'll start beeping again. Oh man. So, Jay, what'd you do with your long weekend this past weekend? I got my computer to beep for the first time since building it 8 months ago. What? Get your computer to beep? You need better hobbies. You need to get out more, nerd. Let's install this thing. This, of course, is why I cleared off this area. I'm going to try and be a lazy ass and just tilt the thing over like that and pop the cover. This can't take too much effort to put in. There we go. Hope it doesn't get sucked into the fan on the graphics card or obstruct the airflow too much. Let's hear it beep for the first time. That was it? Really? That sounds like the beep from a warehouse scanner. You've got to be kidding me. When this thing finishes booting up, I'm hitting restart. That's the beep these days? Well, at least if I get a postcode, I'll know what it is. Sounds like a Honeywell scanner. Just hit restart on everything. Should be making the noise any minute now. That's it! It's like a laser scanner in a warehouse. So what does a postcode sound like? Look, Ma, no graphics card. That should be enough to break something. Except for the unfortunate fact that this processor has an integrated graphics chip.
Epic fail.
There, no RAM. This should give us a postcode, if anything's going to give us one. There it is. And it is coming from that little speaker. Good stuff. Let's put it back together. There we go. That's what I'm talking about. Back in action, despite the glare from the 3 lights in the background. Except, this isn't Monolith. This is Tuxedo, now running with the most aggressive overclock that I ever attempted before that old motherboard cooked itself. Completely stable. At least it's been so far. Interesting. The performance drop going all the way back to a Phenom 2, though, is still noticeable, so I'll bet this could play some less demanding games, though. Okay, enough of me sounding like I have a clothespin on my nose. We mentioned Tuxedo. It's time to make the power supply swapped. Maybe I should reapply the thermal material on Monolith, because this old thing gets better temperatures. Substantially better temperatures. That could, of course, be my experience in applying heat sinks properly now starting to add up. Makes me think I should just reapply the heatsink in Monolith just for kicks. Alright, after some formal supper, but I still sound like I have a clothespin on my nose, let's check out this thing. It's a black box that supplies power to your computer, A+ bronze. This was on sale this week, 600 watts, but it has two 6+2 pins for the graphics cards. Let's check this out. How do you open it? Oh, I tried to open the wrong side. Rule number 1, place the box so it looks like it's upside down. Rule number 2, open the cover. Rule number 3, gaze at the little black box that will soon be powering your system, even though you have to take the box apart from the bottom up in order to get it out of the box. Gotta love it. There we go. Also trying some chest rub for the cold, but I don't think that's going to do very much for me. So I might just go all southern accent for a bit to finish this all off, because I seem to be biased towards talking like that. So anyways, I'm squaring off main brand against main brand here. So my last power supply was my last power supply was a Corsair, and of course this time I'm going with an EVGA. And so basically, these brands all have reputations to uphold among the PC hardware enthusiast community, so if one of them releases a dud product, the mass abandonment by consumers when the word of mouth gets around will practically kill them, because there's enough competition in this industry for that to happen. For a recent historical example, check out what happened to the IBM DeskStar hard drives, aka IBM Death Star. IBM's no longer even in the computer hardware business. They sold it off in 2005. So, but even before they closed down their IBM, before they closed everything down and sold off to Lenovo, the DeskStar hard drives butchered the reputation of IBM in the hard drive business. Now you consider, just 20 years earlier, IBM had been known for being completely unstoppable when it came to computers and PCs and stuff. And yeah, this whole southern thing kind of goes well when you're all stuffed up, so I think I'll continue talking like this for the rest of the video. Anyways, so what I do like about these things nowadays, well, pseudo-southern, not going the whole hog here and sound like I'm from Georgia or something, but anyways, so what I like about these power supplies nowadays is that instead of the proprietary 135mm fan that's between the 120 and the 140 sizes, you actually have right here a 120. So if the bearings go out on the 120, you don't have to spend extra for replacement fan. Just take a replacement fan that you got sitting around, and then take yourself your replacement fan, and then just splice the wires together with the existing plug. And I'm actually going to keep this from my previous one. You know, when I'm stuffed up, I should go all southern style more often. This is working out better than I thought. So, yeah, we're going to take this here, just put it inside a Tuxedo, should have the plugs for everything, and then that'll pair up new hardware with new hardware, and then the old PC power and cooling one can go over to the Silver Bullet. This is working out better than I thought. I was thinking I'd have to do something like this in order to not sound congested, but, you know, Southerners do make a bit more use of the ers and the rs and the nasal, whatever. I don't know. Let's get that stuff over here. There we go, that's better. Or are these power supplies just getting smaller these days? There's no drive hooked up to actually boot to, but first boot. Nice and quiet. Even the 140's at its slower speed. Listen to that. Well, none of that. I think I have a date with the kilowatt after we finish getting this all back together. One of this system's oldest Achilles heels has always been efficiency or lack thereof. We'll see about that. So I was wondering why I feel so horrible. Then I noticed it was after 10 o'clock. We'll get the wattage thing and then call it a night. Xbox. Let's set over to the AV receiver with the source button. And let's see what this gets up to. 2 watts standby. Remember, this has an aggressive overclock. This machine used to never drop below 100 watts for any reason. Looks like that's going to continue. Oh, I don't have any peripherals. Now we'll just watch the... There's not going to be a keyboard error or anything. So it caps out around 200, but when it's done loading everything, let's see what happens. As always, this computer is a total disaster when it comes to efficiency. It does not hold a candle to its successor. And that's why I have an aggressive overclock that takes the old speed range of 3.2 to 3.6 and sets it to 3.7 to 4.2. I want to burn this thing out. And then maybe see if there's a more efficient AM3 Plus that can go in this board later. But this 125 watter, forget it. I cannot for the life of me imagine myself ever owning a 125 chip ever again. So the classic 8350 from a few years ago, never going into this machine. Good night. It's the morning after, and my disappointment with this processor knows no bounds. 800 megahertz minimum speed when set back to the stock clocks. That finally gets it down to 80 watts. I think maybe the graphics card would be the next thing that could improve things, but I'm not really interested in picking up a 1050 Ti just to drop the wattage even more. But I'm thinking some of the dated hardware might have... Well, Thubins were always known for getting wild and crazy the minute you started overclocking them. But I'm thinking of going in the other direction. The only way this computer is not going to win on speed, even when I overclock it. So I'm curious, you know, kind of like how the Top Gear guys once drove supercars like little old ladies to try and make them fuel efficient. I think the challenge that I will take on with Tuxedo is take a processor that's inherently not efficient, a dated old processor that's inherently not efficient, and see how close I can get it to monolith. That should make for an interesting challenge. Yacht, jet ski. Yacht. Used to know an auto mechanic that went around talking like that. Yacht. You need no brakes. Yacht. You need new brake lines. Yacht. You need an oil change too. Let me throw in an oil change for you. So this is the yacht. Oh man. By the way, do I sound any better after a good night's sleep? Yeah. Still feel under the weather, but I think I'm going to keep the Tylenol regimen going until the 100-degree fever goes down another 2 degrees. So, right. Oh, okay, so let's close this out. So, this is interesting because I can get the CPU up to the low 6s in Nova Bench. Basically what I'm doing is I turned the motherboard base clock back down to 200 so I can get down to 800 megahertz when this thing isn't doing anything. And then set the frequency range to 3.6 to 4.2. Which, why this thing is jammed on just 3 cores, I have no clue. But... could it be the program is frozen? Blah, 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 blah. So, this thing... breakfast. So this thing used to do 1380 and stuff, but now that it is no longer my main system, we're just gonna back off on that and then be done with Tuxedo here. So the speed range is 3.6. The old turbo is the new regular, and instead of capping at 4 for turbo, this thing actually is stable enough that I can actually use it with 4.2 as the turbo and whatnot. Alright, silver bullet time. Ah, Windows patch. That's what was going on. We're done. Everything's all back together and all the computers work again. This ends all of this computer shuffling. There's the gotcha of that power supply. That little plasticky, this power cable is very, very plasticky. I don't like how it feels at all. Also, above and over the top and then down to here. It's shorter than most, but it still does its job. That means this thing is now back together. Should be good to go. So the question now is, where do we go from here? There is one thing worth noting. In a made-to-fail kind of setup, you'll notice the board looks a little different. I noticed, fortunately before applying power, that this Gigabyte nameplate had actually come loose and was just bouncing around loose. That's because it was glued on. So in the name of having a big Gigabyte thing plastered front and center for all to see on top of what I think was that heatsink right over there, you ran the risk of shorting out your board when the glue wore out on this thing. Enough of that. Everything works again. Question is now, what the heck do I do with these systems? What do I put in what to run on what to blah 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 blah? Yeah, that leaves a lot of questions unanswered, but at least all the computers work again. Till next time, this is MultimediaJay, signing off. Thanks for stopping by.